everyone! I recently came across this gorgeous Orseund Iris top which cost a whopping £500. I'm sure they've got plenty of good reasons to be pricing it that high, however, for someone who isn't Jeff Bezos, that is quite a price tag. So let me show you how you could recreate this top instead. Also, this is an amazing bustier style for people with less volume up top, because if you remember, the fitted sort of cup style isn't for me so much. However, the ruffles really do change the entire look. But anyways, let's get started. To create this top, you'll need 1 meter of non-stretch medium weight fabric. Some of the fabric that you would like to use for your straps, I used some chiffon scraps, any sort of zipper but preferably a separating zipper, and lastly some underwire which you can buy new or recycle from an old bra. Firstly, we need to create the patterns. The easiest way to do this is to trace the sides and underwires of a bra that fits really well. I'm folding the fabric so I can trace the shape of the cups exactly. Once the cups are traced, I just extend the middle part of the pattern to be as high as the sides so that the neckline of the top is square. For the remainder of the pattern, I trace a top that already fits me well and that doesn't stretch much when I wear it, so basically one that is true to my measurements. To create the back pattern, I simply trace the lowest part of the side onto this pattern to save myself having to create another one. For the pattern of the cups, I trace the shape of my bodice pattern onto some paper and then move the pattern down to the bottom of that new drawing and trace the cup one more time. I then connect the two sides of both cups to have one elongated cup pattern. And here are my two finished patterns, the front bodice, which I will trace without the cups for the back piece, and the cup pattern. I then cut all my pieces out twice with plenty of seam allowance. Since the back piece is divided in two, I cut this out 4 times. Having learned from mistakes I made with previous projects, I start this project by inserting the zipper. I also insert it downwards so that the tighter part of the top is what opens up and therefore makes it easier to get in and out of the top. However, if you do have a separating zipper, I suggest to use that instead. To attach the zipper, I place the zipper tape between the two identical back pieces right sides together and sew all along it with a zipper foot. Once it's sewn together, the zipper seamlessly sticks out the back panels. I repeat the same step with the other side. So now the lining and the outer piece are attached to the zipper without any stitches showing and the zipper facing downwards. Next, I move over to the cups and start by hemming the top of my cups with a rolled hem. I then sew a basting stitch on both sides of each cup and pull on those stitches to ruffle the cup up to half its size for this nice ruched effect. To attach them to the bodice, I first slightly snip the curved edges of my bodice and then start by pinning the sides of my cup to the sides of the bodice, leaving seam allowance for those raw edges at the top. I pin it all around the curve and sew it all together. The bodice then looked like this. I repeat this on the other side and snip the seam allowance of the cups. Moving on to the straps, I cut out 55 cm long and 10 cm wide strips of my chiffon scraps. In hindsight, I should have made them longer, so if you recreate this top, I would suggest to add at least another 10 cm to the length of these. The original has straps that look like a brushed satin, however I didn't have any matching fabric, so decided to use this white chiffon instead. I cut out 8 strips in total to create 4 ties. I sew 2 strips together along the top and sides, leaving only the bottom open to turn them inside out. Next, I trim off the seam allowance on all edges to create French seams and locking in all the raw edges. I turn the straps the other way around by pulling them over my scissors. Before creating new seams, I also quickly press the straps to be flat and then sew all around the edges again, locking in the seam allowance. I turn the straps over one more time, press them again, and then my straps are finished. Next, I attach the straps to my back piece by folding the lining and outer piece right sides together and sandwiching the raw edge of my strap between the 2 layers and sew all along that edge. Once sewn together, the straps stick out of the now fully lined top edge like this. I repeat the same on the other side. Going back to the front piece, I have attached the lining to my outer piece only along the middle part between the cups by sewing it right sides together. I then snip the curved edges of my bodice lining and fold it over to the seam allowance of the cup and sew the seam allowance and the lining right sides together along the curves. Once I've attached the two layers, the bodice lining covers the raw edges of my cups like you see here. I complete this step on the other side too, and then my top looks like this. Next, I take the other set of straps and sandwich them between the side of the front pieces by also folding them right sides together just like we did with the back piece. For the straps to stick out of the fabric straight, I cut the straps to the same angle as the sides and attach them like so. Once I've done that for both sides, the top and the ties look like this. Next, I'm going to insert and attach the underwire by placing them between the two layers of my bodice on top of the seam allowance of the cups. I pin all along the whole cup to keep the underwire in place. I also pin where the underwire starts and finishes so it won't slide around the cup. I then top stitch along where I pinned. Now I'm attaching the back and front pieces together by folding them open and pin all along the two layers, starting with the top seam for a nice and even finish. Once I've sewn this all together, the sides are attached without any raw edges showing. I repeat the same with the other side and slowly the top is coming together. Next, I'm taking my zip ties and I pin where I want the channels to go. I'm placing my channel just under the middle of the cup, just like in the original. I sew all along my markings through both layers of the top and repeat the same process for the other side and the back piece too. I also tried the top on at this stage and decided to take the sides in slightly but make the bottom flare out a little bit like so. Once I've sewn all the channels, the top looks like this. I also trim the raw bottom of the top to be the same length as the zipper. Next, I trim the zip ties to be about 1 cm shorter than the channel and file the edges to be nice and smooth so they won't poke through the fabric. I then insert the zip ties and repeat this for all 4 channels. Lastly, I pull on the channel seams slightly so I can fold the raw edge of the bottom in to hem them. I pin and top stitch the whole thing. The hem looked like this, and with that my DIY Orseund Iris Bustier top is finished. And here is the final outcome. I love this top so much as it makes me feel very elegant yet stylish and playful. I'm super happy with the outcome and I'm considering to make this in lots of different colors. I would definitely recommend to make the straps longer though and make the bottom a little wider. Please do let me know what you think in the comments. And other than that, thank you so much for watching.